Hi, I'm Rick Stivers. I'd like to welcome you to Young Martin's Reels. Today, we are, for the first time, going to be shooting what I believe is a high-resolution video, and we're going to be doing that on this Zebco 700 Hoss. First off, I would like to thank Jim Jones and Tommy. I think, Tommy, I'm going to call you Tommy M for right now until I learn how to pronounce your last name properly. They've been helping me with my Zebco projects, and they have been just a wealth of information. And I would like to thank them. They've provided some information on this. First off, the Zebco 700 is a spincast reel. It has no drag on it. It's called the Hoss because it's designed to put a heavy line on and crank the fish in. You hook him, he's yours. That's the plan anyway. And so this is a big heavy duty reel with no drag. They've helped me out a lot with this. They've provided the schematic that you're going to see right now. They've also provided me with a couple of photos of what this looks like inside. In this first photo, you'll see that there's a lever that you have to flip. In order to take the spool off. So you're going to see that. There's also this other photo here, Jim Jones provided me, and this is basically brand new old stock frames for the Zebco 700 that Jim has. So let's get started on this. First off, did we find a schematic? Yes, you've just seen it. Is the reel complete? As near as I can tell, this reel is complete. Is there anything visible on the reel broken? There is nothing broken. However, there is a pretty good sizable dent right here in the face of it. And so we're going to try to massage that dent out. Either that or I may have a replacement for this down in that new parts box that I just picked up. So I will take a trip down there and see if I'm going to find that. Does the reel turn smoothly? No, it does not. Does the line release? Yes, the line does release, or it appears to. Will the line reel in? Yeah, I think if it was pulled out, I think it might reel in. It just won't do it very well. Does the drag work? There is no drag, and therefore it can't be adjusted. Does the handle knob function smoothly? Yes, they do. Does it have anti-reverse? Yes, it does have anti-reverse. Earlier, when I first popped this thing open, it didn't have anti-reverse. The anti-reverse was non-functional, but I managed to free up the anti-reverse that was stuck. If you notice right here, one thing I'm going to point out to you, notice right here, this handle is hitting the cover right there. Not a lot, but it's just barely touching it. You can see right there where the handle's been rubbing. This handle's just slightly bent. We will try to fix that while we're in here and see what we can do about it. Let's see if I can work on getting the focus just right on this now. All right, from this point on, the focus shouldn't change as I bring things in and out of the picture. So let's start off by removing the handle. All right, next we're going to remove the front cover. And this is where we will get a definitive as to whether or not the line would retrieve and go out. Got to pull this cover off, slip it over to the side. Now this cover, I've noticed one thing on this, and Jim, you and Tommy, if you watch this video, hopefully you'll help me. This cover, when you go to put it on, doesn't want to go all the way on. It gets caught on these three tags in here, three little indents. You can push it and they will go past those, but it's rather unusual for a reel to do that. Once it's past those, it goes right on and off. So if this is unusual, or maybe there's the wrong spool or something on here, I don't think so. This is your feather touch on this. And I think that's right, but if you know anything about that, let me know, because I've looked at it several different ways and it doesn't seem to want to change any. All right, let's go ahead and take the rotor off. All right, now let's push the button Well, I'll tell you what, let's leave the rotor on for just a second. Get the flat spots lined up. There we go. And let's take a look at whether or not, yeah, see, it stays up. So it would cast out. See how that goes up? Okay, it would cast out. Now as I wind the handle, even though it's tight, it will drop back down to retrieve the line. So that portion of this reel is functional. Even though it's tight, all of that is working. Okay, take the rotor off. Okay, now this spool is not supposed to come off yet. Normally, right now it will come off because I forgot to flip the lever back. But I'll show you in just a second where that's at and how that works. All right, we're gonna pull the back cover off. Everything in there looks fine. All right, now if you look right here, and I've got to get this just right so you can see it. See this lever right here? Well, when that lever is in that position right there, see it clearly? I'm talking about this lever right here. When that is in that position, this spool will not come out. It locks it in place. In order to remove the spool, you have to take that lever and move it over out of the way like that. Now the spool can rotate and will come right off. See how it's made? Got those little tags, little flanges. All right, so the spool is off. That brings us down to this portion. And at this point, we can see this. See this lever right here? This is in the wrong position. It should be over here like this, over top of this. Because if it's not over it, what can happen is the main gear can come up like that. And you don't want that to happen. So when it goes back together, we're going to have to make sure that that lever is over here where it belongs. So for now, let's move it out of the way. And we should be able to pull this axle assembly out. Hopefully you can see it clearly. There we go. Okay, that's your 700 center axle assembly. So you've got your spring that allows this gear to slide in and out. That's for setting and unsetting your rotor. And this assembly right here, its purpose is to engage and disengage the anti-reverse. Now, when I first started on this reel earlier today, that anti-reverse wouldn't work. And it's because this grease that's on here was so gummed up right here. See how thick that is? Okay? That was so gummed up that it wouldn't allow this assembly right here to move back and forth. With that assembly not being able to move back and forth, it just stayed right here all the time. So that part wasn't allowed to move it. I managed to break the grease free on it and work it loose, and then it would move. Okay, so that's your anti-reverse. We'll show you when we put it back together exactly how that works. All right, with that out, let's go ahead and rotate these parts over out of the way. And with those off, we should be able to take out your main gear assembly, like so. And there is your 700 main drive gear assembly, or in some, as Jim calls it, the crankshaft. All right. Now we're going to inspect that and clean it up real good, make sure all that works. The rest of the parts in here do not normally come out. They're all riveted. If you look, each of these parts are riveted right here. And what I see now is okay. All right, this assembly fits down in here. I believe that there's supposed to be a rubber seal right here to act as a brake. I'm not positive of that. I guess I'm going to have to be making a quick check. But I would think the way that's made that a rubber seal goes in there. And we're going to take a look, and I will get right back to you on this video very quickly. It might take me a day or so, but on this video you'll know the answer in just a second. Okay, it took me a while to get my technical reference guys to get back to me because I forgot to hit the send switch, but I did get that done. And no, there's not supposed to be anything in that groove except for the spinner cap. So while everybody was gone, I did some cleanup, got everything cleaned up here. The reel is nice and clean inside. If you look now, you can see down inside it. This is what we're looking at. This lever right here is the one that locks the spool in. It just slides over like this. All right. This lever here is going to be your anti-reverse, or the beginning of it. The second part of it is right here on this lever. Okay. This lever, the point of it goes into that hole right there, and it moves in and out, catching on and off of the gear, on the pinion gear. And this little lever here, once we get it in, slides over and locks everything. Oh, sorry. Let me turn to where you can see it. This little lever right here locks everything into place. Okay, at this point, we're ready to start putting everything back together. So we're going to start off by putting in your crankshaft or main gear assembly. And we're going to start by putting a little bit of grease right here. And the purpose of that is going to be to hold this shim washer. Make sure that you don't lose that shim washer when you take this off. I should have told you that when we took it off, but I didn't. That shim washer goes right there. Next, we're going to put some oil on this crankshaft assembly, and we'll slide that back into the case right here. Before you do that, since I was showing you this, I forgot to move it back out of the way. There you go, move that back out of the way, then slide this back in. Make sure it spins easily, make sure that your shim is still on there. Once you've got that, it's time to install your center shaft. This is going to rotate, and because it rotates, I also use oil on it. Slide it down inside. Now when you put it in, remember this lever that I told you about right here. See this hole right here? Right there. This pin on this center shaft has got to fit into that hole. So bring it down until it starts to match up, and then slide it on over like so. All right, with it in the hole, it now allows it to turn this way, but it won't allow it to turn back until you flip this lever right here. Now, if you flip this lever down, now that moves it over and it allows it to go both directions. So that removes your anti-reverse. Once you've done that, it's time to lubricate your gear, your main gear assembly. All right, with that well lubricated, come back and add some onto your shaft here. Because that grease there, as this pushes in and out, is going to lubricate that and allow it to move up and down easily. Now all that is installed, this lever right here has got to slide back over, and that locks onto there so that that shaft can't come out, and that locks it everything in place. Next is going to come your spool. Notice that these tabs will fit into these slots in the body. Once they've done that, then you rotate it like this and go back and slide that lever in place. Once that lever is in place, it locks that and it can't move either. That leaves just putting this cover on. If you have trouble with sliding them on, go ahead and loosen them up, then tighten them down. Those appear to have gotten screwed in some when I cleaned it. All right, that's got the back on. Now everything moves freely. With that done, you can take and put the spool back on. Oh, sorry, the rotor. Screw it down snugly. Now when you push the button, it locks in the out position. When you rotate it, it drops back down to grab the line. That brings us to just this cover. And I'm going to see if I can push this dent out. And it's not perfect, but it's much better than it was. A little touch-up paint, and that'll be flying good again. Again, this is not going to be a collector's piece by any means. Slide your cover back on, and again, the screws tighten back up as I cleaned it, just like it did on the rear. So loosen them up so that everything will slide back together. Slide the handle back on. And we've gone from having a Zebco 700 Hoss that didn't hardly want to turn to one that turns nicely now. Let's see if I can do something with this handle. There we go. And this one. See if I can turn that out a little bit more. Let's bring it down. There we go. So I'm not scratching up the body. Let's bring it up a little bit more. There. Now the handle's straight. There you have the Zebco 700 Hoss, freshly rebuilt. Like I said, there's no drag on it. That makes it one of my least favorite Zebco reels, but there's a large following of people out there that really truly like this reel. If you're going out fishing for that big old catfish and you don't want him having any drag, you want to horse him in, put some heavy line on this thing, you've got a heck of a reel here. It's a workhorse. It's got really heavy steel gears in it, and it's going to last you a long time if you take care of it and lubricate it. If you like what you saw here today, please hit the like button. If you dislike it, hey, that's okay. Hit the dislike button. Tell me what you didn't like. Let's run our checklist real quick. We did find the schematic for this, which you've seen. Is the reel complete? Yes, it is. Is anything invisible on the reel broken? No, only the dent that was on it, and I've taken the dent out. We just got a little bit of paint loss. Does the reel turn smoothly? It does now. It sure didn't before, but it sure does now. Does the line release? Yes, it does. Will the line reel in? It sure will if I had some line on there. There's no drag to be adjusted. Does the anti-reverse work? Yes, it does. Can we turn it off? Yes, we can. So, there you go. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button. If you want to get notifications, you have to turn your notifications on. Otherwise, you're just subscribed. And this is Rick Stivers with Young Martin's Reels, signing off.